the Browns traded Joe Flacco. And they didn't just trade Joe Flacco to some other team that needed a quarterback. They traded him to the freaking Cincinnati Bengals in division, in state, just like 3 hours down the road. Joe just got in a car from Enterprise that the Bengals sent up here, and poof, down the highway he goes. And he will be starting this Sunday against the Packers, who he already faced in week 3 and won. The Browns that's the only win we have, and that was Joe Flacco. So I forget what the stat is, and if you guys remember, put it in the chat. He'll be the first quarterback to beat the same team if the Bengals were to somehow win against the Packers. I don't think they will. But he'd be it's either the first, only, whatever quarterback to beat the same team on 2 different teams, maybe in history or since. I forget.
Yeah. Yeah, on the same season in history, I think so. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, so, we sent Joe... I should have wrote this stuff down because I had it all in my other notes. What was the trade? Do you remember? It was Joe and a 6th round pick in exchange for a 5th round pick, correct? Kenny's freezing up there a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I think it was Joe. We packaged him with a 6th round pick, traded him to the Bengals. They sent us a 5th round pick. So it was kind of like a pick swap deal to get Joe Flacco down there. Obviously, they need quarterback help in the worst way imaginable. Joe Burrow is out for potentially, 3-4 months. I'm guessing it'll be the whole season. Jake Browning has looked horrible, just not good whatsoever playing for them. So bad that they traded for Joe Flacco on, I guess, what was it, Tuesday or something, and immediately said, yeah, he's starting for us this week. He's going to start. That's how bad their situation is. So the Browns at the moment have Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders on the active roster. Bailey Zappi on the practice squad. I gotta imagine shouldn't even say gotta imagine. He will be activated to the roster before Sunday, I would imagine, because they don't have an emergency quarterback, and you have to be on the active roster to be the emergency quarterback. So that's the whole conversation then is, will Shedeur be the QB2, or are they going to keep him as the emergency quarterback and let Bailey Zappi be the QB2? And it goes back to that Ian Rappaport report last Sunday. I think it came out in the morning before the Vikings game that the Browns do anticipate having Shedeur Sanders start games this year at some point, but it will be after a full week of practice with a game plan specifically designed for him. So it makes me think, and a lot of people speculate, that the Browns won't want Shedeur Sanders one play away from coming into the middle of a game without being, the full week of practice as the starter, without the game plan, designed specifically for him and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I keep telling people, don't be surprised if he is made the emergency quarterback and Bailey Zappi gets promoted to QB2 ahead of Sunday's game. What do you think about that, Kenny?
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's just slightly different quarterbacks. I would expect more bootlegs in this game, and I don't see that with Shedeur. It's going to be more of a traditional drop back style, so I see it being different. So I think Zappi could run the same thing that Dylan can, and I think it's exactly what it is. It's nothing more than that. It's not anything against Shedeur. I just think it's Bailey right now without Flacco. We have Bailey Zappi, and we have Dylan probably running more of a similar style offense, and that's it.
Yeah, and I see the arguments online, and I don't disagree with people that are saying things like, how unprepared can Shedeur Sanders actually be to go into an NFL game if you're telling us that Bailey Zappi would be more prepared to go in the middle of the game because he hasn't exactly had the most robust career through, I think, 4 years now in the NFL. He had a couple nice games where he started for the Patriots way back when, just kind of some spot starts. I think he took people a little by surprise, but it was nothing long-lasting. And the last time we saw him on the field for the Browns, it was bad. It wasn't pretty. So I understand.
He passed to the biggest defensive lineman for the Ravens as an interception. It was awful.
Yeah.
And I totally get where they're coming from that. But I think you can lay a game plan down for both of them because I think Shedeur is just a different beast as far as what he could do for Stefanski's offense.
No, I agree. And, I think I want everybody to keep this in mind if it does come out, because I put in here, last season, you got to remember this stuff can change all the way up until pretty much game time on Sunday morning. Because last season, it was that first game against Cincinnati at home. DTR was actually elevated to the QB2 spot over Jameis Winston. He was demoted down to emergency quarterback that morning. It was kind of like that whole last second, like what Jameis has been the QB2 all season to that point, and DTR was the emergency quarterback. All of a sudden that morning they flipped it. So this stuff can change all the way up until game time. So everybody jumping out there saying, Shador's officially QB2, climbing the depth chart, all this stuff. Pump the brakes. It's not official yet. I wouldn't be surprised to see this change, and I don't think it's obviously not me saying it, and the Browns aren't saying either that they think Zappe is better than Shador. They just think he would be more prepared to go into the middle of a game because that's an unknown. You have no idea what the game situation is, what the script's going to be, what the play calling is going to have to look like, all that kind of stuff in the middle of a game, especially this one in Pittsburgh against the Steelers, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Does anybody in the chat have anything they wanted to chime in or talk about with the Joe Flacco trade, Shador Sanders, QB2, all that stuff before we move on to the other big trade that happened last night? All right, we've got Stacy would like to come on up. Stacy, how's it going?
What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
The only thing I have to say about the Joe Flacco trade, I think it was a good trade because honestly, we weren't really using him. He was kind of just sitting on the bench, and everyone wanted Shador to be QB2 anyway. So I think to get a 6th round pick for a 40-year-old quarterback was a pretty good move by AB. So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Better than keeping him on the roster doing nothing, like you said, and we've already talked about how if or when you go away from Dylan Gabriel at any point, you don't want to go backward to Joe Flacco. You want to try something else with like Shador. The thing that I keep seeing people talk about that I totally agree with, though, is it does seem a little helter-skelter with the Browns in this quarterback situation because they spent so many reps throughout training camp getting this team prepared for the season. They gave all these first-team reps to Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, and here we are week 6, and neither one of them is on the roster. So it's like, what did they see in camp that was different than what we saw on the field during games? Because Joe Flacco did not last very long, and I get why people are questioning the approach here and whether there's an actual plan or if they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, I mean, the whole quarterback thing looks bad. I mean, as far as you take a look at, we have Deshaun Watson, which is already like a thorn in our side, right?
Right.
And then we can't get this guy to play, and we're giving him all this money. We're still got DTR on the books. We still got Joe on the books, really, with the trade for $1 million, I think, or 900,000. And if you just lay out the dead money and everything we're paying the quarterbacks, just looks really bad. That being said, though, I think Stacy was kind of hitting the nail on the head. Getting that draft capital back, because that's currency to move up and down the draft for next year for a guy that's probably not really gonna play this much. And then as far as him being like a veteran and a leader, just to help the young guys out, I mean, we're paying one of the better quarterback coaches and one of the more veteran quarterback coaches in the league. So I don't think we really do need that. I did hear Stefanski mention that Deshaun is still helping the young guys. I don't know how much help he's going to give them, but there's that with it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Stacy, was there anything else before I bring Colton on up?
Just please, guys, don't let Joe Flacco go to the Bengals and light him up. That's all.
Oh my God, yeah, I hear you, man. That would be so Browns. Like,
oh, yeah.
I do not want to see that either.
It would be crazy, but you got to remember too, they do have 2 very, very good and highly paid wide receivers down there as well. So, all right, Colton, we'll get you up here. Stacy, thank you. If there's anything else you want to talk about here in a little bit, just go ahead and put your hand back up. Colton, you're on. Okay, you're good to go.
Yeah, so I think the funniest, well, I guess that's more depressing than anything, but and this whole thing is watching Jacksonville on Monday Night Football come back and beat the Chiefs and knowing that we have their first round pick next year. And I think all along we were all thinking with like googly eyes, all right, we traded the 2nd back to the 5th and we're going to have probably 2 top 10 picks next year. We're going to really be able to package those together. We're going after 2 weapons that we really need. And now Jacksonville is just going on this unbelievable run with a rookie coach that nobody expected. So now we're sitting here in despair like, okay, this is such a Cleveland thing to do, is to trade back with the expectation of having a top prime pick and now it's going to fall possibly into the 20s, late 20s, which you never know, of course, in the NFL how things are going to go. But I just find it candy to see that. So with all that being said, though, trading two of your top training camp quarterbacks for 5th-round picks, if that's the plan that we have moving forward, I'm kind of on the fence now of, hey, let's punt this front office and move on, because that's not where I want to see my time spent in quality sessions. So thanks for having me on. Always appreciate it. Always look forward to it.
Yeah, always love hearing from you, man, for sure. So yeah, you got the Jaguars right now at 4-1. The thing with the Jaguars is I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing. Like, I've watched the Jaguars. I've watched Trevor Lawrence enough over the last, 4 or 5 years now. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, kind of thing. Maybe they actually are this good and they carry this throughout the whole season. They make a playoff run, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden they start dropping 3 games in a row and then they win 1, then they lose 2, and all of a sudden they're, battling for 500. I could also see that being the outcome as well. So I won't say sky's falling on that Jaguars pick, but I agree. It doesn't look great at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting a ton of turnovers. I think they lead the league with 14. Maybe they got more after that game. Maybe that was just a pregame stat. But either way, like, those turnovers do come in bunches. And when you don't get them, and you depend on them for your wins, that could lead to some losses. But I don't take anything away from them. We finished off the 2023 season like that. They're starting the 2025 season off like that. So let the chips fall where they may and see what happens.
Jasia in the chat says, do you guys think the extra pick will be used to package the Jags one for a higher position this year, or possibly move back and get a second first-round pick in 2027? I don't think we'll have any idea what the Browns are planning to do, and I don't think they have any idea what they're planning to do until we get there. I mean, we weren't.
It's always a possibility. It's always a possibility.
I mean, we thought it was going to be Shedeur Sanders or, a quarterback at 2 for a long time, and then it was, okay, they're definitely taking Travis Hunter, and then draft night, they traded back to 5. Who knows? We got to let it all play out. It's really hard to talk a whole lot of draft specifics at this point. I mean, we're only in week 6. This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Browns fans, if you're looking for manly rings and manly things, head over to manlybands.com/dogs, DAWGS, and check out everything Manly Bands has to offer. And right now, get 35% off site-wide with promo code PRIME. That's PRIME. They've got rings out of every material you could possibly be looking for. They've even got stuff you're not looking for, like meteorite and dinosaur bone. They've got collections like their awesome Lord of the Rings themed bands. They've got DC Comics and Jeep and Jack Daniel's Whiskey Barrel bands. And they've also got great gifts for men like barware, chains, bracelets. They've got retirement gifts. They've got shot glasses. They've got lighters. They've got all kinds of things. So head over to manlybands.com/dogs. Use that promo code PRIME to get 35% off site-wide today. That's manlybands.com/dogs, promo code PRIME. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS. But speaking of Jacksonville, we might as well stay here on this topic because the Browns just traded again with the Jaguars last night. It came out late. Luckily, it was like right before I went to bed, so I didn't miss it. I was able to post about it and kind of do a little research before I went to bed, but it was late, and the Browns traded a guy that has been the talk of possible trade rumors and all this stuff for 2 years now, and it was Greg Newsome. So they sent cornerback Greg Newsome and a 2026 6th-round pick to the Jaguars for another cornerback, Tyson Campbell, and a 2026 7th-round pick. So a late-round pick swap to trade Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell. So the difference here is Greg Newsome playing on an expiring contract with the Browns. He was on his 5th-year option. And if he was going to be here next year, it was going to be via extension. And I don't know if the Browns were... I heard reports, I think you guys read them too probably, that the Browns were willing to, entertain extension discussions with Greg Newsome, but he's going to cost a lot of money. He's not like a high-end premier cornerback in the league, but his level of play, and you can see it in the contract that Tyson Campbell got with the Jaguars, they're still going to get a lot of money. I mean, this is still a position that if you're any good, you're going to get a good bag of money. And that's what the Jaguars gave to Campbell, gave him a 4-year, $76 million contract back in 2024. So just last offseason. And so the Browns get a guy under contract for the next few years. I think he's only like $1.4 million against the cap this year. It's really low. So they get to clear Newsome's cap off the books. They get to bring on a very low comparable corner, I guess. And we can kind of talk about now if did the Browns upgrade at corner? Did they downgrade, or is this just a lateral move? What are your thoughts about it, Kenny?
I think they upgraded slightly if he can stay healthy, but it's kind of 4 quarters for $1 at this point because they're both guys that have hamstring issues. The only thing is, it really comes into like a Barry move, right? He's already signed to a longer contract, Campbell that is, and Newsome himself. He's on his 5th year, so he's like an unknown. Maybe things haven't been going well. Maybe they contact him. Maybe they think he wants more money. Maybe the money figure that Newsome gave him was bigger than what Tyson Campbell has. And Tyson Campbell himself, he fits Jim Schwartz's defense really well because he favors long, physical press corners, and he's kind of not fit that mold, right? Newsome's been a little bit more, I think he's played more slot snaps overall. And I think maybe that's something that Jaguars want to do with him. But either way, this guy comes in, he's a tackler. He's more along the lines of MJ Emerson. And I think those are the guys that Schwartz is looking for. So I think it's a good fit. His salary is a good fit. So does he stay healthy? And I think it'll be a good, I think I'm pretty comfortable with this, that we got the edge on this one.
So I know, I was texting with like Justin and Blake last night. Blake was pretty bummed. I mean, obviously we knew the Greg Newsome trade was a possibility. Tony, just hang on a second. I'm going to get you up here real quick. But Blake obviously we all like Greg Newsome on the show. Blake's his biggest fan of all of us. He was really bummed to see him go and all this stuff. And, he did bring a high energy. He was always up for the game.
Yeah,
whether he had a good game or whether he had a game where he was getting burnt, over and over, whatever, he had the energy. He brought that tenacity to the defense. And Tyson Campbell, from what I've been able to gather and read from all the reports online, like you said, more physical, great tackler. He could be a good fit for the more man-to-man press coverage that Jim Schwartz likes to run. Greg Newsome kind of fits what the Jaguars want to do in their more like zone-heavy scheme on defense and all this kind of stuff. What I've been seeing from Jaguars fans, because I said, we were talking like Blake said, I don't even know who this guy is. I said, yeah, well, let's look. So first of all, he was the 33rd pick in the 2021 draft. Newsome was the 26th. So he was the very first pick in the 2nd round by the Jaguars, just a few picks after Newsome. So same draft class,
right.
Pretty much same age, all that kind of stuff. I was kind of reading through some of the Cleveland media and what they were posting about it and everything. And of course they want to put, oh, hey, we're getting this player and all this stuff, put a nice spin on it. So I need to go see what Jaguars people are saying about it. So I went and I started searching to see what like some of their main media and their fan base was saying about Tyson Campbell. And I didn't see anything except people happy that he was no longer on their team. People were saying, get this guy the F off my team. From what I was reading, he gives up. I think he's a decent corner, but he has the knack of giving up a big play pretty much every game. From what I've been reading, he's struggled the last couple seasons. Jacksonville got this new front office in there, and they just didn't feel like he was living up to the contract that the previous regime had given him. So they were looking to offload him and his contract and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know what to expect with Tyson Campbell. I kind of feel like we downgraded a little bit. I think Greg Newsome is the better cornerback, but we'll see. Let me get Tony up here and see if he's got a perspective on this. Tony, what's going on, man?
Yeah, so the perspective on that, I have two things with this, but I'll comment on that. It's playing zone in a defense and then playing man in a defense are two different things. So in a zone, a lot of the Jacksonville fans can get really pissed off at him because he might be giving up a big play, but that's zone coverage. Sometimes it's safety help that needs to come over. There's so many different factors that go on that. Now, when you play man-to-man, it's your guy and you're not expecting any help. You're there for him. And if he's seen more as a man-to-man type thing, maybe it'll work out here in Cleveland because that's typically what we run. Obviously, I know that we run some zones sometimes, but I mean, if he's seen at that, then maybe it'll be more beneficial for us. And same thing for Greg Newsome. I would tailor more that it's more of a lateral.
Yeah,
Newsome's going to fit that scheme better, and Tyson's going to fit this scheme better. The second point that I want to bring up, I said this in the chat earlier, and I know you guys are saying it's a money move, and I get it like that. The one thing I didn't understand was why trade him now when, especially, I would say he's had a pretty good productive season so far, at least decently, and not wait closer to the trade deadline, seeing especially if he keeps getting better or he does more to get more value out of him. I understand that we're going to need a quarterback to fill that role, especially if Newsome's not here, because our backups, I wouldn't say, are anything worthy of a CB2 right now. I mean, I understand the move. I just didn't understand why now when maybe, and I know it's all what if world, but you could have got probably more value out of him when it got close to that trade deadline, because I think we all knew it. If Newsome didn't get an extension done by the trade deadline, we all knew he was going to be traded by then, unless this season was just like a 4-1 start.
I would think it's just they wanted Campbell and he was available at that point, and it was high on their chart, or however they divvy up who they want and what they want to get. It could have been a possible conversation to add this kid when we did our trade originally with Jacksonville, and he didn't get in there, and then finally they offered up some kind of deal that came to fruition. I would just say it's been ongoing talks since the last trade that we did with them. That's what I think.
And also it might come down to, well, one, we don't know what kind of trade talks or, interest the Browns have gauged from the rest of the league on Greg Newsome. Maybe they've already done some, put some feelers out there and found out that, man, there's really not a big market for Greg Newsome at the moment. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm just saying that could be, part of it. And, the other part of it too, sometimes a deal comes across and you think that's a pretty good deal. And, you could either try to hold out for a better one and take the risk of not getting a better one, or you just take that good deal because it's there, it's available, and you're going to make a deal with this guy, or try to at least anyway. So they just went ahead and did it. Either way, you get a guy at the cornerback position, kind of like you were saying, Tony, for the next couple years. Like we've got Denzel Ward, and at least we've got another guy to put across from him who is a good, starting caliber cornerback, because the rest of our cornerback room, like you said, is not good. Miles Harden, Cam Mitchell. I mean, they just added Dom Jones officially to the active roster because they can't put him to the practice squad and call him up anymore. They used up all his elevations. It ain't pretty. It is not pretty. And we'll talk about it here with the Steelers preview, kind of what to expect this weekend from the secondary. But yeah, the cornerback situation is bad. And who knows what they want to do with Emerson too. I've talked about it where, the Achilles injury for Emerson could open the door for the Browns to bring him back at a very low cost for next year. So you could be looking at, extending or retaining Emerson with Ward and now Tyson Campbell, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world, especially with all the other holes that we have to fill next offseason on the offense. Andrew Berry, thank you for getting Mason Graham. Thank you for getting Carson Swessinger. We need offense. I'm done drafting defensive players.